Well, welcome back to class number 2. Last week we tried to master stance, correct alignment, and aim, all those fundamentals. And I think one of the main things we learned last week was that they all work in unison. But it all begins with the aim while you're standing up above the shot. You know, one thing that I want you to remember about last week's lesson is the fact that, you know, you can have the best stroke in the world, but if your stance and alignment aren't good, you know, the rest won't follow. So we're going to do a little review of that, but the main focus of today's class is going to be developing the stroke. I see a few new faces in the class this week. Why don't we just go around the room and give our name and where we're from so we all know each other. We'll start with Terry.
Terry Moser from Texas.
Ray Dilworth from Ohio.
Beverly Dilworth, Ohio.
Jerry McNabb from Saskatchewan.
Globe Europe, Penticton, British Columbia. Jan Glaus from Wisconsin.
Bruce Glaus from Wisconsin.
Rose Beaton, West Kelowna, BC.
Marguerite Calvin, Peggy Johnson, Michigan.
Ralph Johnson from Michigan.
George Aston from the great state of Washington.
Howard Smith from Vancouver, Washington.
Okay, every class from now on I've decided to start with a quote, because I think it's always good in pocket billiards to be inspired. Last week we learned how important it is to enjoy this game, the pleasure of small emotions. Today we're going to refer to the expertise of Willie Mosconi, 15-time world champion. He said, "The majority of shots should be executed by stroking the cue ball in the center." And when he said that, he meant 80% or above. Now, we all know what problems arise when you stroke the cue ball either to the left of the vertical axis or the right of the vertical axis. You get spin, you get deflection, you get curve. So we have to learn how to compensate. In class number 4, we're going to address English. Then in our next 2 lessons, we're going to learn and master hitting the center ball. In fact, I said this last year, and I mean it, I still believe it, I think it's a fact, that the stop shot itself is the most important shot in pool, because it basically lays the foundation of how to play position. And we're really going to look at that closely. All right, what I'd like to start out with is just a quick review of what we learned last week. I'll set the object ball here and the cue ball here. And what I'd like you to pay attention to is that you always need to know where the pockets are. Remember last week I gave everybody a coffee stir. But one thing I want to demonstrate that I think will surprise you, like if I shoot this 14 ball from that angle, right at the red line in the middle of the coffee stirrer, that is pointed towards the back of the pocket here. Okay? Now the center of the pocket is always between the 2 jaws out here. But what happens if I set up another shot from this angle? And I go through that red line. Look what part of the pocket I'm aiming at now. Did you notice how it shifted? And then I'll set up a shot from this angle. And if I go through the red line, look what part of the pocket I'm aiming at here. That's why I always teach there's a professional side of the pocket and an amateur side, just like putting and golf. And I have plenty of these coffee stirrers. They're free. So you can grab one at your leisure. All right, last week we learned stance, but it all begins while you're standing up above the shot. In other words, you do all the hard work before you bend down into the shot. We know where the center of the pocket is. We've already established that. The contact point is right here. The aim point is always a half ball out. And on every shot for the rest of your life, you need to find an aim point and draw that target line from the aim point through the cue ball all the way back to your right big toe. Your chin, the cue, and your right big toe need to be on that target line. Your body approximately at 45 degrees. Once you get everything perfectly aligned like that, you're ready to step into the shot. So you step your left foot forward towards the aim point and swing down. Now this is a critical point. You it's become automatic for me. For some of you, it's going to feel awkward because you might go to the left or right, it might not feel correct. So when you step into the shot, notice if you're offline. Get back up. You don't want to get down in the shot and start readjusting your body because that'll throw everything off. Okay? You got to learn to step into the shot correctly each time. If it's incorrect, if you get offline, you want to get back up, adjust your feet, do it again. In other words, practice that over and over until you can step into the shot perfectly each time. That's a huge fundamental in pocket billiards. Any questions about that? All right, perfect stroke. Probably the best way to teach this is does everybody have a cue nearby? I don't see. I guess I'll demonstrate it. When we go around, I'll actually make sure you're doing it correctly. But the first thing to establish a perfect stroke is to gently cradle the cue. Now when I say gently cradle, about as much effort as I'm taking to hold this piece of paper in here. Just enough to hold the cue in your hand. Now when I say cradle, literally the thumb and the first two fingers are the only ones that have contact with the cue. In other words, you want the arm to hang at 90-degree angle. You want your cue to be level. And once you start taking your warm-up strokes, you gently swing the cue back and forth. Now we call the warm-up strokes the rehearsal phase of the stroke. That's where you actually simulate the actual shot you want to make. Now, depending on how much power that you want on the shot, let's say you only have to move the cue ball a few inches, your stroke will be a lot shorter. In other words, it may only go back 2 inches like this and then come through like that. But the more power that you apply on your stroke, the further back that you're going to swing the cue back, and the further will be your follow. But one of the main fundamentals to keep in mind about the stroke is that you want the cue tip to accelerate naturally through the cue ball. You don't want to steer it or force it or hit it. Okay? The actual pull stroke, to describe it in its most accurate way, is a literal throwing motion. Okay? You're actually releasing the cue. You're letting it go. In other words, if you start tightening up your muscles in your arms and shoulder and your wrist, you're going to be punching it or hitting it. And that'll take all the action and power out of the shot. You basically swing the cue back, come to a gentle pause, and as you let the cue go, you're literally flinging it through, letting it go, releasing the cue. So the cue stick will stay laying right on the cloth, gently relaxed. Now I know a lot of you, when you start doing this, you'll notice when your cue comes in the air. Why does the cue tip come in the air when you stroke? That's because you're holding on too hard in the back. So it'll make the cue come up like that. And also one of the main fundamentals we want to cover today is staying down, keeping your head and body still. That's crucial. In fact, a rule of thumb that I like people to follow is you basically wait till you hear the sound of the ball hitting the pocket before you even think of moving. Okay? Then you can gently rise up. But that's a huge problem with a lot of players. They're so anxious to see where their ball goes that they're already up in the air looking right away. So that's a key one. All right, what I'd like to do now is take you through a series of drills, and we'll apply the proper stroke techniques. All right, the first one is going to be a simple stop shot from a short distance. Now, one of the things that you'll notice that this stop shot, I want the cue ball to stop right where that aim point was established. Now, this particular shot, I'm not going to have to use too much power, too much stroke, because it's only a short way to the ball. But as we get into stop shots that are further away, like those, you're going to have to apply more stroke. All right, let's go through it. Definitely chalk the cue on every shot, 45-degree angle. Make sure you cover the outside part. Breathe and relax. Find my aim point, target line all the way back. Swing down. If I swing down and everything looks good, I can start my warm-up strokes, gently back and forth, until I get everything lasered in. And on my final warm-up stroke, I laser in on that aim point. And then I gently bring the cue back, and at the transition, I release the cue. Release the cue. In other words, I don't want you to hit it or steer it or anything like that. I want you to learn how to let the cue release through the ball. We call that acceleration through the cue ball. Let's do a couple more. Swing down. Warm-up strokes are essential because they allow you to rehearse the actual shot. And you notice the cue lays gently on the cloth. It didn't come up in the air, it didn't swing to the right, or anything like that. And that's when we break up into partners and we work on these shots, help each other out. And I'll be coming around to give you some guidance. Let's do one more. Swing down. Everything looks good. Nice warm-up strokes. Simulate the shot. On the last one, you laser in on that aim point. Gently bring it back and release the cue. Stay down until you hear the ball hit the back of the pocket. Now on your handout, you'll notice I also have a feedback. On every shot, you want to get feedback. That's crucially important to your improvement. Simply what I mean is, did the cue go straight through? Was the cue relaxed on the table? Did you move your body? In other words, pay attention to all those things. See your partner doing those things, help them out. And that's the way to actually improve your stroke. All right, let's go to the second stop shot. I'll put the coffee stirrer up this time. This one's a little bit longer, so it's going to require a little bit more stroke. But one secret on these longer stop shots, you just go a little bit below center to make the cue ball stop. That way you don't have to use so much stroke. But you notice my red line on the coffee stirrer has shifted to this side of the pocket. Breathe, relax, aim point, target line. Step into the shot, begin the warm-up strokes. Everything looks good. Laser in on that aim point. On the last one, gently bring it back. Release the cue all the way through. Don't move until you hear the ball hit the back of the pocket. Okay. Let's try the more difficult one, the longer one. And again, look at my coffee stirrer. Look where the red line is. It's way over here now. Now that seems like a minor fundamental, but when it comes to country roads and the tightness of the pockets, you better know where the pockets are.
Your basic misses this.
Pressure's on now. All right. Aim point, target line, 45. Cue, chin, toe on line. Swing down. Take my warm-up strokes. Not bad. I hit the red line. But my cue ball, notice it went a little farther than I wanted. That's because by the time it got to the 14 ball, it had a little bit of overspin. In order to make the cue ball stop, the cue ball has to be skidding with no back or forward spin. Okay? And that's why pool is so hard. It's not easy to do that, is it? Let's shoot that one more time. Ah, that was perfect. In fact, Bert Kinnister would have been proud of that because he has a drill where he tries to put the cue ball on the reinforcement. That's an incredibly difficult thing to do. All right, let's go on to drill number 2. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you hitting the cue balls on the lower part of it? It seems like.
Well, you know, on that shot I did. The reason why I hit that a little lower was because I had so much distance between the cue ball and the object ball. See, it's hard to hit it in the middle and make it skid that far of a distance without turning over. To make it stop, the cue ball has to be skidding because it's the object ball. That's a good question. You notice what I did there.
On the shorter one, you didn't have to use below center?
Exactly. The shorter one, I hit dead center. This one, I may be a hair below center. This one, even a little more below center.
You have to shoot.
And if I was back here, I might hit it significantly below center to make it stop over that distance. The reason why you do that is so you don't have to hit so hard.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question. All right, the next drill, and this is something that I think a lot of people really care about a lot, is how to follow and draw the cue ball. Now I have a drill, and I used it last year. I'm sure Ralph and Betty remember this, and Ray and Beverly. But this is an excellent drill for learning how to control forward spin and back spin. And you can spend literally hours shooting this shot. It's a really good shot to help your game. But let's start out with the easier shot. One thing that I want you to remember from this class is that it's always easier to follow the cue ball than it is to draw. Draw is very unreliable in getting position. Although in pocket billiards you have to be able to draw the cue ball, when you need to. But if you have a choice, following the cue ball or making it roll forward is a much more reliable way of getting position. The best way to get position, though, is a stop shot, where you simply stop the shot. And that's the kind of position that professionals like to have. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use follow to get to here, then here, then here, and then I'll finally go in the far corner pocket. But I'll start out with just a very small stroke because I don't need much power. And you'll notice my warm-up strokes to be very short too, to simulate the actual shots. Swing down, warm-up strokes. Okay, not bad. You notice how short that was. I only had to go a short distance. I hit that one about a half a tip above center ball, just to make it a rolling ball. This next one, I'll bring it to the 10 ball. And you'll notice my stroke is going to get a little bit longer this time. Didn't quite get there. All right, this time we'll try to get all the way to the 11 ball. And this will be fun to work on with your partner when you break up. Not bad. Okay? And you don't have to get it exactly. To get it exactly is pretty darn hard. But when you're working on this drill, try to get it close to each ball as you work on it. This last one, now we wouldn't do this in a real game, but I'm going to try to roll the cue ball right into the pocket.
Yes, we would.
And you notice I'm staying down on each side. I'm not moving until the ball goes in the pocket. Now the sexiest shot in the pool, the draw shot. Okay, everybody wants to make the cue ball draw, and it is an important shot. We'll start off slow. Now the most important thing about draw, and a way that you can make it draw without a doubt, everybody in the world can make it draw. The key fundamental is that the cue tip must accelerate through the lower part of the ball and stay low. A lot of people that can't draw the cue ball, they're actually doing this when they go through the ball like that, because their elbow comes down and the cue comes up in the air as they stroke. The cue tip absolutely has to accelerate through the lower part of the ball and stay down. To make sure that happens, you'll notice when I draw the cue ball, I use a closed bridge. I put this finger over the top. So we'll just try a short little 2-inch draw here. Swing down, nice little warm-up strokes. Now we'll try a draw to the 15 ball. A little bit more stroke. And then we'll try a draw at the 9 ball. And you notice I'm not using a whole lot of stroke yet because I don't need it. In other words, you'll watch people that use the same long stroke for every shot. It's the same stroke, but it's just shorter. There's not as much to it. And that's a key fundamental because you don't want to lose control. So we'll try to bring this one back to the 9. Whoa, a little too much. That one would have gone all the way in the pocket. All right, on the last one, we'll try to get the cue ball all the way to the pocket. And again, you notice on every shot, I'm paying close attention to my alignment and stance. I'm drawing that target line, make sure my chin, cue, and toe are right on that line. Step into the shot, swing down, warm up strokes. And a lot of times if it's straight in, you got to get the cue stick out of the way before it gets there. Any questions on draw? And, you know, I'll help you work on that because I think this drill will help your game quite a bit because there are a lot of cases where you absolutely have to stop and draw the ball. So, very important. Okay, the other thing that I want to introduce, I'm only going to show one shot on it though because we have other things that I think you'll want to hear about. Using the stroke on a, say, a 3/4 ball cut like this. The one thing that I want, and you could practice the drill in your handout, but I'm only going to demonstrate one shot. The reason why this shot is so important is this forms the basis of all position. In fact, in lesson number 3, that's what we're going to do. We're going to learn how to play position for the next ball. But on every shot with a cut angle, you notice there is a tangent line. Now the tangent line is the 90-degree angle off the 12 ball. After I hit it, I'll carry them always at a 90-degree angle. Now that is assuming that the cue ball is skidding when it hits the 12. It will always take that 90-degree tangent line off. And you can see how important that is because that determines where the cue ball is going to end up. So by knowing where the tangent line is on cut shots, you can pretty well determine where the cue ball is going to go. Okay? So let's just look at this shot. And I'll even put the chalk where I think the tangent line is. The 90-degree line would be the 90 degrees from the pocket to the ball to over here. That's the 90 degrees. So we'll put the chalk right on the rail here. Now if I hit a skidding ball, a stop shot, the cue ball should go directly right at the chalk. So you can basically know where the cue ball is. And that's a fun drill. You can do it from several different angles too. Like you can make it here, here, you know, any angle or cut. The tangent line will remain the same on every shot. But if you have a shot that's like this, obviously with draw or follow you can change the tangent line. If you have a real thin cut, it's harder to change that tangent line. Okay? Like for example, if I wanted to draw up to here, I could do it. With a draw stroke, it would start out towards the chalk and then come up to this location. All right? Any questions about that? We'll get more into that in class number 3. All right, what I'd like to do now is look at some game-winning shots, okay? Shots that can win games. And I feel like I've learned a lot about this shot over the years. And I've learned some, I think, secrets to help you make these shots. Everybody gets shots like, oh, wow, sorry. Everybody gets shots like this where, say, you're about to win the game and the 8 ball is frozen to the rail. A lot of times we get intimidated by that, okay? The one thing that I want are 2 secrets of making the shot is number 1, don't listen to conventional wisdom about the shot. What does conventional wisdom say about the rail shot? You hear all the time that you have to hit the ball and the rail at the same time. okay? Well, you can make it doing it that way, but there's even a better way. In fact, Mark Wilson, our Moscone Cup captain, pulled out a credit card when he teaches this. In other words, the ideal way to make the 8-ball is to actually hit the rail first as close to the 8 as you can. And that will actually cause the 8-ball to hug the rail and go every time, okay? So let's look at how thin a credit card is. That's pretty thin, isn't it? So basically what's happening when the cue ball hits the rail, it sinks in a little bit. Therefore, by the time it hits the 8, it hits it on a perfect line to the corner pocket. Okay? Let me just demonstrate real quickly how that works. The other sure way to make a ball on the rail is to hit it with a high ball. That'll help it go in as well. So I'm going to try to hit a credit card from the 8-ball with a high ball. Okay. Let me shoot that from the other angle. Yeah. And you can even notice the difference in the sound when you do it correctly. But the problem is if you hit too much ball, that's probably the most hazardous way to shoot the shot. Because if you hit too much ball, it's going to hit the rail and come out real quickly like that. So just as close as you can, rail first with a high ball. Wow, that's quite a cut. And it doesn't have to be the 8-ball, let's just put any ball up there. Swing down, high ball, just... Wow, I almost did that twice in a row. Okay. Any questions on rail shots? Because those can be pretty difficult, especially when you have these, when you're shooting past the side pocket all the way down. This is one where you really have to be careful. Okay. If you hit ball first at all, you can't make it. Okay. All right, the next shot.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
If you're on a rail like that, how far up the rail can you shoot a rail shot or you should shoot a bank shot? That makes sense?
Okay. If it's on the rail here, I'd say you can cut it all the way to here. Anything past that on this side, you'd have to bank it. Okay. The reason why that is, and we'll learn this in class number 4, is that you can use English, inside right English, to hit the rail first and make a ball on a severe cut off the rail. In fact, that's kind of almost like a trick shot that, you know, professionals know real well, but most amateurs don't know about.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. All right. Here's another shot that can be a game-winning shot for all of you. And a lot of times you get into a position, let me use the 8-ball, that'll give it more drama, okay? A lot of times you have a position where the cue ball and the 8-ball are frozen, like this. And if you come up close to this shot, you'll notice that the 8-ball and the cue ball are lined up directly into the rail like that. And people would see this shot and think, oh my God, what am I going to do here? This shot looks almost impossible. If you want to see, come around this side, you can see exactly what we're talking about. But literally, this is a very simple shot. All you need to do is shoot away from it with a lot of right English, like this. And what the right English will do, it'll twist the 8-ball to the left and make it go right into the pocket. Okay? And you can see if you get behind there, that right now, if I shoot this straight, it simply can't go in because it's going to hit the nipple of the rail. So I'll shoot at a little angle with a lot of right English. And you notice the 8-ball went right in the center of the pocket. But that's not the only way to make that shot. There's actually another way. Same shot. Again, it's aimed at the knuckle of the side pocket. And they're frozen together like that. Well, to make that shot, I can shoot it from this angle. Okay? And by shooting it from this side of the cue ball, shooting it away, that's actually going to push the ball to the left a little bit as well. We're going to learn a lot about this with combinations on our next class. But watch how the 8 ball goes straight in the side pocket, even though it's not lined up. Did you see it push over from there? Anyway, that's a shot that, yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand what right English
Okay,
is.
sure. The first way that I made that, the right English, it's like gears. In other words, if I hit the cue ball on the extreme right side of the cue ball, it makes the cue ball spin like this, which actually twists and throws the 8 ball to the left a little bit. Okay? Like, if you get behind the side pocket, you can see how it throws it like that. But we'll talk more about that in class number 3. All right, the next shot is a shot that comes up all the time. In fact, I was in a league match, and the guy was playing safety after safety and hooking me every time. And finally he left me this shot, and I said, I've had enough of this stuff. In other words, he left me hooked on the 8 ball. Now, there's a very easy way to make this 8 ball, and I'll show you how that works. Let's imagine that if I make the 8 ball that I win the game. All right, the only way that I can see to make this is I go one rail, hit the 8 over here, and pocket it in the corner pocket. Now, the system to determine that is very simple. It's called the mirror system. In other words, I look at the contact point where I need to make the 8 ball, which is right there. I take the distance from there to the rail, and all I do to figure out my aim point is double that distance. Now let's put a piece of chalk here to designate the line of aim that I need. In other words, there's from the ball to the aim point to the rail and doubling it to here. Now if I shoot directly at that chalk with a little bit of running right English, it should pocket the 8 ball easily in the corner pocket. Okay? And that shot you can play with your partner, and I'll come around and help you with that.
Question.
Yeah.
Did you win the game?
I did, and I was so mad at the guy for hooking me so many times. But it's when you know how to shoot that shot, it's a fairly simple shot. The last game-winning shot, and this will be the conclusion of the group lesson. But this one, I actually learned this by watching YouTube. And by the way, we're actually going to post all these classes on YouTube so you can watch them at a later date. I haven't done it yet. In 8 ball, what happens a lot is you get really thin cuts. Let's say to win the game, you basically have to cut the 8 from here into the corner pocket. Now, I imagine for most people that might be a little bit of a low percentage shot because it's such an extreme cut. But the thing that I want to alert you to about these shots is that it's very misleading how to aim this shot. Now, when you shoot at the 8 and cut it that thin, you're actually putting extreme English on the 8 ball, which goes like this from right to left, which will make the 8 ball hit the rail way up here and miss terribly. In fact, 90% of shots, when you have severe cut angles like this, people don't cut them enough. The secret or tip that I want to provide to you is that you absolutely have to overcut these shots. You almost have to shoot to miss them way over here. That's the only way to make them. Because of the extreme English that you put on the 8 ball when you cut it that thin. So whenever you have a severe cut like this, remember, you want to cut it way, almost to miss the pocket way over here to make it. And I'll shoot a few examples of it. And again, if we put our coffee stirrer up here, you'll notice that the pocket is way over here anyway, isn't it? It's not over here, it's way over here. Okay? But actually, shoot to overcut these is the way to make sure you pocket these shots. And I was cutting that to hit way over here, and it ended up going right where I wanted it, right across the red line. Okay. And that's another shot you can work on. That's in your handout and everything.
What does overcut mean? You cut thicker or thinner?
Thinner on that shot. And
That's what I thought.
Did you use English on the way?
no English. No English. I'm glad you asked that question. You never use English unless you really need it. English throws in a complexity which will cause you to miss shots more than native. Now let me define English too, because English is not hitting the cue ball on the vertical axis. Because you could hit it high, middle, or low, and that's on the center vertical axis. English is defined as hitting it to the left side or the right side of the cue ball, which makes it spin awkwardly like that. Because I think most position shots you can actually stay on the vertical axis using low, center, and high. And you don't take the risk of deflecting and curving the cue ball out. And, you know, really at country roads, that's a really important fundamental because, you know, if you hit them hard and they aren't perfect, they don't go in. You know, you gotta be very accurate. Any other questions?
How do you rate our tables here at Country Roads to other tables in
Oh, this is the best pool hall in town, without a doubt. Yeah, Terry does a great job. Yeah, they put in a lot of time and effort to get you guys the best, without a doubt. Even have a snooker table and a billiard table. Are you happy? Oh, good. Anything else?
I just wanted to let you know that Peter is making DVDs of these lessons. He's filming them, and he's going to put them on YouTube. But there's also a DVD. You've got to have a Blu-ray player to play it because it's high def. But the first lesson is up here right now. They'll just be back here on this cabinet. If you want to come and get them, take them home, watch them, just bring them back. Just take them home, bring them back, and let somebody else watch them. But they're available, and he's just sitting up there. They'll just be sitting on the cabinet for anybody who wants to watch them. When you had the two balls, like the cue ball in contact with the black ball, I always thought you had to shoot away.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you asked that question because that gets to the rules of pocket billiards. When the balls are frozen together like they were, like this, you can shoot through them. Okay? The rule that you're talking about is if there's any space between the two balls, then you have to shoot away. But if
So
there's
not in contact and go close,
Yeah.
you have to shoot it.
But the way I shot them legally though. Because when I used the right English, I shot this way. And when I shot it from this direction, I shot away from the 8-ball. So actually both shots that I shot were legal. But the problem is when there's a little space like this and you shoot right through it, you'll hear a double click. You hear the double click? That's a foul. And you can tell it's a foul because the cue ball and the 8-ball are going the same speed, which means you double hit. Good question, though. Anything else? All right,
How do you get that in if there's a little space between them and they're straight in?
Okay, I would use the right English option. That would be the best one. If I had a little bit of space between the two, and it was aimed a little bit, but come closer, Beverly, and look at it so you can see. You see how this one, there's a little bit of space between the two? But it's aimed right to the knuckle of the side pocket. What I would do is I'd come over this side and use extreme right English. That's a legal shot because I'm shooting away from it.
How about the
Yeah.
straight in the other way in that side pocket? Definitely straight in. Can you still shoot away from it like this right there?
Okay, here's what happens if you shoot away from them. Let's say you have two balls with a little space between them that are aimed straight at the pocket. All right, if I try to shoot away, it's actually going to put funny English on the 9 ball, which will change the direction a little bit. So in this case, what I would do to make sure I didn't foul, because I have a little bit of space between the 2 balls, is I would simply jack my cue up like this. And this makes it extremely difficult because you can't see your aiming is good. But I would jack the cue up almost to like 45-degree angle and hit the cue ball low. You see, that's a legal shot. But then you get into trouble when there's a little bit of space, trying to shoot like this because you're going to throw the object ball off because you're putting all that English on the object ball. Anything else? All right, let's grab a partner, and I have at least 8 tables. Somebody can go ahead and use this table as well. You notice I've got all the white reinforcements set up for you to do the drills.